All right, we're gonna do three things in today's video. We're gonna talk about, real quick, what I'm gonna do here with my loppers in my hands and how it affects these trees and the forest. Cover that quickly. Then I'm gonna share with you a current event, something I did with a friend of mine that was really fun, and then share a parable, a fun takeaway for the end of this video that ties all of this together. So starting with what I want to do with the trees, this is a red maple, and then this guy right here is a birch. I don't know if it's a yellow birch or if it's a paper birch, or I don't know the nuances enough. I know like some of the birch family, but here we are, the birch tree. We're in a very swampy area. Our water table is very high. These trees have found themselves a little bit of elevated ground, and there's water running around them, and so they're out of the water. The roots in the ground need air, water, and the soil, the minerals, and all the good stuff to survive. If they don't have enough air because those air pockets are full of water, then the roots choke out and the tree can't breathe as well through its root system. And so there's limited amount of topsoil because we're in a forest. These roots are competing against these briars and prickers for that space, that oxygen, those minerals. So I'm going to knock back all of this around these two bigger trees in an effort to make life better for the maple and the birch. Not too bad for a day's work. And getting my morning workout in, trying to be a healthy 40-year-old father and son and husband, coworker, and all that jazz. And I happen to enjoy being out here in nature, hanging out with the trees. My dog's running around in the background somewhere. And this centers me for the day. I'm more productive from here on out, and then this gets the creative juices flowing. And then at the end of the day, when I'm all burnt out from spending all that gas in my tank, I'll come out here and walk in the woods and maybe do this again and clear my head. And I've got my trail cut through the woods now, a little over 3/4 of a mile, more than an acre worth of clearing land by hand, like you see me right now. And chipping away little by little at the stuff that is making the forest unhealthy in an effort to help out my trees and my natural wildlife. It also gives me that workout and the dog walk time. And recent events, so I started taking these videos to share with my family, to bring them out on my dog walks as well. A lot of my family loves being out in nature. And I send these videos out this way because I was taking up all the space on people's hard drives on their phones, sending them videos. And so I make YouTube videos so I can send a link and it doesn't eat up my phone's space or my friends and family's phone space. And there's no goal to grow this channel beyond that, but because I happen to make YouTube videos elsewhere in my life, you know, this channel's getting a little bit of traction, so there are some strangers, so welcome if I don't know you directly. One of the friends that I send videos to is my friend and mentor, Troy, who since 2013 has taught me a ton about what it is to be a farmer, how to do managed grazing, how do you action that, what does that mean. Taught me about being a conservationist, environmentalist, has definitely been a cool part of my journey so far. And he and I, through Farm Marketing Solutions, my business, online business, recently went to a Connecticut agricultural conference and gave a talk on introduction to grazing. How do you get started? How do you make it easy? What are the benefits? Yada yada. We're doing intro to grazing stuff in front of a live audience, and it's all the stuff that we have on the YouTube channel already. we just got to get direct feedback from people as they experienced our talk. And, you know, instead of waiting for YouTube comments to come in, we got that feedback. And that's all you would see on Farm Marketing Solutions, is these goofy guys having fun teaching about running a farm, livestock operation, marketing, yada yada. But behind the scenes, you know, for the guy out in the woods, thinking about that day for Troy, he drove 4 hours from his house to my house on Friday. On Friday, we rehearsed the talk. On Saturday, and then he slept on my couch. God love him. and then, we went to this conference together. We sat in on a talk together by an entomologist about managing your pasture for high quality bugs and the types of bugs you would get from higher quality pasture and what the benefits are for the relationships that the bugs have to the ecosystem. Real deep nature stuff. And this lady was so passionate and so in love with the bugs that it was a really fun talk to sit in on. And then Troy and I got to talk intro to grazing, answer questions, workshop it. Then we drove, he drove to my house. The drive to the talk was 1 hour and 40 minutes. Then we give the talk. Then we have some lunch. Then we drive 1 hour and 40 minutes home to my house. He drops me off, get a big hug, and then he drives 4 hours home, ending in a snowstorm, so that he can see his wonderful wife, Corinne, who just had ankle surgery and was at home without Troy being there to take care of her. And I wasn't there with my kids that day. I spent the day with Troy teaching grazing. And I'm very okay with that, because there's some people who took grazing charts. There's people who asked good questions. Troy and I got to talk through a whole bunch of stuff and plans for the year. Both of us with full-time jobs and, you know, wanting to grow soils and introduce conservation to more of an audience and get livestock farmers moving their cattle around instead of keeping them all in one place all the time. Kind of a big goal, but you do what you can. It brings me to my last point for this video. This was like the thickest area. It's been very rewarding. I think I'm getting to the edge of where I set up the camera frame. And the goal was to free up the tree. We're gonna go in this direction. And we'll get that stuff. Then we'll be done. Some of this is dead. Nice. So in January 2025, I flew down to Texas to go to the annual Pasture Poultry Conference. The location changes year to year. It's going to be in Florida in 26, which is great because I'm going to bring the family. And it is my personal tradition to download a documentary or two when I go to the chicken conference, because on the way down, I'll watch the documentary about food or the soil web or this or that, grasslands, poultry operation, all the things, you know, great information. And this year I watched the documentary Dirt. And so in the documentary Dirt, there's a, I'm gonna shamefully not know all of her credentials off the top of my head, but there's a, we'll say, professor, doctor, teacher that works directly in the How to Grow Soils movement that shared a great story that fit into my cutting twigs in the woods to my teaching grazing and how to raise chickens information. And it's the story of the hummingbird. And the hummingbird is in the forest. Already I'm like, all right, I want to know what happens to this hummingbird. Is this hummingbird good? hummingbirds in the forest, and there's a big fire. And the fire is growing and spreading fast. And all the animals are running to the edge of the woods, completely overwhelmed by the fire. And they stop at the river, and a hummingbird comes out of the woods, flies right by them, goes into the water, grabs a little drop of water, and flies back out to the fire and drops the water on the fire. And the animals look in awe of this hummingbird as they're just paralyzed and overwhelmed by the immense problem in front of them that is the fire just destroying. And the hummingbird all this time keeps flying back and forth, flying back and forth. And the animals are like, what are you doing? And the elephant's there with its giant trunk that could hold so much more water, but it's just completely overwhelmed and it just stays there. And finally, enough of the animals are calling the hummingbird crazy. And the hummingbird stops and they said, Hummingbird, what are you doing? The hummingbird said, well, the best that I can. And it wasn't cutting all these plants out, not gonna save the world. It's gonna make these trees a little happier for a few more years. Teaching the grazing information, great. There's lots of people around the world teaching the same information. I'm just approaching it from a different angle. See if we can get some more people into already practiced science, but it's gonna hit a certain amount of people. And no one of these efforts do I have any grand aspiration, I'm not going to save the world, but you can change it. And it's the everyday actions of people like you and me, just trying to make the world a better place in any way that we can. And all of that added up together makes a big difference. And so when you feel overwhelmed, be like the hummingbird and just repetition over strength. Be consistent, show up, support the other people around you, take care of each other, and if you can occasionally, get out in the woods. I realize I ended it there talking, but now I have to finish. So I'm gonna finish, but I'll do it in time lapse. I'll see you guys later.